Christopher J. Chris Weidman, born June 17, 1984, is an undefeated American mixed martial artist in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, where he is the UFC middleweight champion. As of May 26, 2014, he is number 5 in official UFC pound-for-pound rankings and ranked as the number 1 middleweight in the world by Sherdog. Early life. Chris Weidman was born in Baldwin, New York, the second of 3 children. He has German and Irish ancestry. He and his older brother were involved in numerous athletic activities. Chris started wrestling at a very young age. With his natural athleticism, he mastered the sport very quickly. He attended Baldwin Senior High School on Long Island, where he was a Nassau County and New York State wrestling champion. He was an All-American in cadet freestyle and Greco-Roman. A standout in college, he earned All-American wrestling honors twice at Nassau Community College, before transferring to Hofstra. He became the first junior college wrestler in history to be a NYS collegiate champion. At Hofstra, he became a 2-time Division I All-American, placing 3rd at the NCAA tournament his senior year. Weidman graduated from Hofstra University with a bachelor's degree in psychology. Training. Weidman met Gabriel Monsta Toribio while attending Hofstra, who invited Weidman to come to Matt and Nick Serra's BJJ Academy to help some of the fighters with their wrestling. Weidman also took some jiu-jitsu classes, and within 3 months he competed in and won the East Coast Grappler's Quest in his weight class and the Absolute Division, with all 13 matches ending in submissions. With full-time assistant coaching and graduate school at Hofstra, jiu-jitsu had to be put on hold for a while. While coaching, Weidman trained for the Olympic trials. When his dream was not attained, Weidman had to decide if he wanted to continue training for the World Teams and Olympics, or give MMA a shot. Toribio brought Weidman to Longo's MMA Academy and introduced Weidman to Longo. With his noticeable technique and skills, Weidman was encouraged to train full-time to fight. For such a novice fighter to be so aggressive and technical in a pure grappling competition against one of the world's best speaks volumes to what a great MMA middleweight Chris Weidman may become. Jordan Breen on Chris Weidman at ADCC 2009. After winning the ADCC East Coast Trials, Weidman qualified for and competed at the 2009 ADCC Submission Wrestling World Championship, with 1 year of formal jiu-jitsu training. In Barcelona, where he lost a quarter-final matchup to world-renowned jiu-jitsu practitioner Andre Galvao. Mixed martial arts career. Ring of combat. Weidman made his MMA debut as a professional representing Team Serra Longo in February 2009 in Luis Neglia's Ring of Combat 23. He fought as a middleweight against Toribio Lopes, whom he submitted quickly via Kimura at 1:35 of the first round. 2 months later at Ring of Combat 24, he stopped Mike Stewart with punches in the first round. His combination of gravity-defying throws, an ironclad base, and scarily preternatural grappling skills has already made him one of North America's premier prospects. Thomas Rios on Chris Weidman in 2010. In his 3rd bout, Weidman won the Ring of Combat middleweight title on September 24, 2010, by defeating Uriah Hall at Ring of Combat 31 via punches in the first round. Weidman defended the Rock Middleweight Championship on December 3, 2010, at Ring of Combat 33, with an impressive victory over Valdir Araujo via unanimous decision. By this point, Weidman was being called one of the most highly touted blue-chip middleweight prospects ever. Weidman was offered contracts by numerous organizations, but Weidman elected to wait until the UFC offered him a contract, which he quickly accepted. Ultimate Fighting Championship. Weidman made his UFC debut against Alessio Sakara on March 3, 2011, at UFC Live, Sanchez vs. Kampman, replacing an injured Rafael Nadal. Weidman, who took the fight on 2 weeks' notice, and who was also nursing a rib injury, won a unanimous decision, scoring a decisive 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards. Weidman faced Jesse Bongfeldt on June 11, 2011, at UFC 131, replacing an injured Court McGee. Weidman defeated Bongfeldt via first-round standing guillotine choke, earning submission of the night honors. Weidman next faced Tom Lawler on November 19, 2011, at UFC 139. He won the fight via technical submission, choking Lawler unconscious with a Bravo choke in the first round. Weidman defeated Emi Maya by unanimous decision on January 28, 2012, at UFC on Fox 2. The fight was initially announced as a split decision, but the judges actually scored it as a unanimous decision, clarified by UFC President Dana White in a tweet. Weidman replaced Michael Bisping on 11 days' notice after Mark Munoz was forced out of his fight with Chael Sonnen. Bisping was chosen to take Munoz's place in the co-main event. I want Anderson Silva. Every time I've had a full training camp, I've gotten a finish. Give me a full training camp and I'd love a shot at the man, Anderson Silva. I really think I could do pretty good. So give me a shot, please. Chris Weidman after defeating Mark Munoz. Weidman faced Mark Munoz on July 11, 2012, at UFC on Fuel TV, Munoz vs. Weidman. Weidman dominated Munoz throughout first round using his wrestling skills. In the second round, he knocked out Munoz with a counter elbow to the forehead followed by ground and pound to a rocked Munoz, which awarded Weidman knockout of the night honors. After the fight, Weidman expressed a desire to fight Anderson Silva and become the middleweight title holder. Weidman was expected to face Mbech on December 29, 2012, at UFC 155. However, he pulled out of the bout due to an injury and was replaced by Konstantinos Philippou, UFC middleweight champion. After nearly a year out of competition due to injury and Hurricane Sandy, on July 6, 2013, Weidman faced Anderson Silva for the UFC middleweight title in UFC 162, before a crowd of 12,399 spectators at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Bookmakers rated Weidman a 2-1 underdog. However, numerous pundits and fighters including long-reigning UFC welterweight champion Georges St. Pierre picked Weidman to upset the long-reigning UFC middleweight champion. I believe it's a bad matchup for Anderson Silva. Very bad, style-wise. Anderson's weaknesses are Weidman's strengths. I've trained with Weidman, and his wrestling is on another level. Not only is Chris Weidman going to beat Anderson Silva, I believe he's going to finish Anderson. I believe it's not going to last too long, this fight. This fight will shock a lot of people. Chris Weidman knocking out Anderson Silva at UFC 162. As Georges St. Pierre predicted, Weidman knocked out Silva early in the second round, with another knockout of the night performance to become the new UFC middleweight champion. In the first round, Weidman took down the champion onto the canvas to apply some solid ground and pound. The second round saw Silva clouding around, taunting and mocking Weidman until he was caught and dropped by Weidman's left hook, which was followed with punches to the grounded Silva, rendering him unconscious. The loss to Weidman was Silva's first in the UFC and ended his 7-year, 17-fight undefeated streak. The co-victory gave Weidman the distinction of being the first and only person to have ever knocked out Silva in a mixed martial arts match. In honor of Weidman's victory, Nassau County proclaimed July 17 Chris Weidman Day. Mixed martial arts website ShareDog also declared Weidman's knockout of Anderson Silva as knockout of the year for 2013. On July 13, 2013, the UFC president, Dana White, announced that Weidman will rematch Silva for his first title defense at UFC 168. Silva once again opened as the betting favorite. At UFC 168 on December 28, 2013, Weidman defended his title against Anderson Silva. In contrast to their first fight in UFC 162, there was no overt showboating by Silva, yet Weidman still had Silva in trouble early in the first round. by dropping him while in the clinch with a solid right hook to the side of the head, followed by a barrage of punches that almost finished the fight. In spite of Weidman's onslaught, Silva managed to pull guard, regain his composure, and bloodied Weidman's nose with some elbows and hammer fist punches off his back. But it was Weidman who got the better of the exchange by controlling the top position for the remainder of the round and striking Silva with the harder punches and elbows. At the start of the second round, Silva attacked Weidman with a series of kicks, including a heavy inside low kick which Weidman parried with a check using his left knee that snapped Silva's left fibula and tibia on contact. Silva immediately fell to the mat, screaming in agony and clutching his broken leg, forcing referee Herb Dean to stop the fight 1:16 into the second round and give Weidman the victory by TKO. Low kicks were some of Silva's most effective strikes in their first encounter, which led Weidman to focus on parrying them for the rematch. That was the number one thing I got hit with in the first fight, so I did work a lot against guys with good kicks, and was working on checking them a lot. I did think that if he's going to go that hard on kicks, as he usually does, if I catch it on my knee it could really hurt him. But it's still crazy how that happened. My trainer, Ray Longo, actually broke a guy's leg like that in the gym by putting the knee right on that shin when he kicked, just by following the kick up slowly. It's not really going shin to shin, but getting your knee on the shin. I've done it in sparring with some hard kickers to let them know not to kick me anymore. Their legs didn't break, but they would either take a minute to walk it off or they wouldn't be kicking me as much. It's something I've definitely been working on, thanks to Longo. Weidman was expected to defend his belt against Vitor Belfort at UFC 173. Weidman opened as a 2-1 betting favorite. After Vitor Belfort withdrew from his title bout at UFC 173, it was announced that Lyoto Machida will next face Weidman. However, the bout was delayed after Weidman sustained a knee injury which required a minor surgery, and rescheduled for July 5, 2014, at UFC 175. Chris Weidman is having surgery on both of his knees, including meniscal tears in both knees that he had since high school. Personal life. On October 24, 2012, Weidman's house was severely damaged by Hurricane Sandy. He subsequently volunteered to help rebuild Sandy victims' homes via the nonprofit group Stand Strong. Weidman is a practicing Christian and a hobbyist magician. He is married to Marivi, with whom he has 2 children.